This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, it's Greeny. Thank you for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. What we have for you today, plenty of coverage of NBA All-Star Weekend, including interviews with Adam Silver, Steph Curry, Anthony Davis, and the hilarious Kevin Hart.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
It's time for Mike and Mike.
Puts a move on Shumpert, hesitates into the lane, he comes to reverse. Derrick Rose has it going at the United Center in Chicago.
We're seeing it all tonight with Derrick Rose, the full repertoire.
The Knicks, Carmelo Anthony telling ESPN Radio that it's very likely he'll shut it down after the All-Star game.
We played last year in the celebrity game, and we played so well that this year they made us coach it.
Yeah.
This is the best the NBA could come up with. Live from New York, your NBA Celebrity All-Star Game coaches. It's time for Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
I think that is appropriately put, and with that we say welcome everybody to New York City. We are back and better than ever. Mike and Mike kicking off our coverage at ESPN of the 64th NBA All-Star Game. And how about this guest list this morning that we have live for you from the Sheraton Hotel here in New York City? We're going to bring you in the following order. Russell Westbrook, Adam Silver, the commissioner of the NBA, Stephen Curry, who is right now probably the league's most valuable player, Damian Lillard, who finally got into the All-Star game and for my money is about as good a ball player as there is, Anthony Davis, who some say may be the best player in the world, and then because he feels like we need to punctuate it with a laugh, the great Kevin Hart will be here on our set this morning, those with some surprises along the way. So, Golick, we're going to have some fun this morning.
And as I said, of the sports, the major sports, the All-Star weekends and festivities, I still think the NBA's is the best. I know we had our talking yesterday about the slam dunk contest, and as it outlived its usefulness, you need to switch that around. Regardless if it's there or not, it's going to be there. We're going to see some great dunks, the three-point shooting, all the festivities that go along with the All-Star game. In my opinion, the game is actually the least of it all, and it's the last thing, obviously, on Sunday night. There's so much going on starting today on through Sunday that I do enjoy this one the most. A ton of players are here, and what I like is at the different events, they get into it, even if they're not involved in it. They go watch, they have fun with it. So it's a great weekend, and it's a great weekend for the fans here as well.
It is unfortunately freezing, so for those of you who are planning to travel to New York, or if you're in New York this morning and planning to come by and see us, please by all means do. The hotel, the area where we are here at the Sheraton is open. We're on 7th Avenue and 53rd Street. This part is open to the public, but I will warn you, dress warmly.
It's cold.
Dress appropriately. We're up against a window. I'm proudly wearing a scarf this morning. This is not an ascot.
Wait a minute, that's not for a look?
This is not a fashion statement.
With you, we don't know.
No.
The only thing.
I am officially freezing my tuchus off in my hometown of New York, but thrilled to be here, thrilled to have the All-Star game here. Unfortunately, the Knicks, who will host the game, the two teams here in the city, of course, the Nets and the Knicks are sharing the hosting duties for the All-Star game. The Saturday night festivities will be at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, and the Sunday night game will be at the Garden. The Knicks, thus, are the hosts for the All-Star game, and unfortunately, they have the worst record ever of any team to host the All-Star game, and it's about to get worse. As Carmelo Anthony, and you heard this yesterday, telling us on ESPN Radio that he is planning to shut it down likely right after the All-Star game. He's planning to play a couple of minutes in the All-Star game because he's the host, it's his city, let the fans see him, get a bit of an ovation, have a little fun with that, and then shut it down and have surgery on the knee that he has needed for quite some time. Before we get your thoughts, let's hear it. Let's hear Carmelo, and because there certainly are a lot of people who have thoughts. So this was Carmelo with us on ESPN Radio.
It's very likely. I mean, now I got to start thinking about the future. I mean, this season is this season, so I really want to just sit down with, my team and sit down with the proper people to just kind of plan this thing out and see exactly, what I have to do to get done and just to fix it.
Mike, what do you think? He says he's going to play in the All-Star game. A lot of people, because he's missing games up until the All-Star game, he wants to be a part of this.
As you said, the more bad news for the Knicks, to me, this isn't bad news. This is the absolute right thing to do. Shut him down. He's got the bad knee. This was going to happen. Do it now. Do it now. I wouldn't have had a problem if he did it a while ago at all. So, listen, this game is for the fans. He's going to go out there and play a few minutes. He's getting surgery on it, so it's not like he's going to go out there and blow it out. At least I wouldn't think he's going to. So, to me, this isn't bad news. He's absolutely right. This season, 10-43 at this point. We knew they weren't going to be in the championship hunt, but nobody thought, again, I get it, nobody thought they were going to be that bad. But this is absolutely the right move. To me, this isn't bad news at all. This is, let's get it done now. Let's get him all the time he can to rehab and recover so he's hitting the ground running next year.
Clearly, I guess that is the part where I'm hearing the criticism is that why didn't he do this already?
Yep.
He's not playing in games. Why is it that they're prioritizing playing in the All? Some are suggesting that he shouldn't be prioritizing playing in the All-Star game over playing in regular season games. Among those was Reggie Miller, who was on ESPN New York yesterday. I believe he was on with Mike Lupica when he was quite critical of Carmelo Anthony. Here's Reggie Miller yesterday.
I love me some Carmelo Anthony. I think he's an unbelievable talent. But if you're hurt and you have to take games off and people are saying you possibly need surgery, then do the surgery. I do not care that the All-Star game is in New York City and that you were voted in and that you're the honorary captain because it's in your city. What is more important? I would assume it's the New York Knicks and playing for the Knicks as opposed to an All-Star game. So you can't have 3 or 4 days off or games off and then play in the All-Star game. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm just foreshadowing, and then call it a day and get the surgery after the All-Star break because you wanted to play in the All-Star break. What kind of message are you sending?
It's an interesting question. Well, I heard that with Reggie, and I think it's an interesting point to make, that what you are basically saying is right now the most important thing is to play a little bit in the All-Star game and then have the surgery. Hasn't played in the games leading up.
Well, leading up, I guess that's my question, and I don't know the answer to this. Were we talking about him having surgery a month ago, 2 months ago, or is Reggie Miller saying he just missed the last few games, then is going to play in this, so we're just talking about a week ago, a week and a half ago? There's a difference to me. Week and a half, to me, is no difference. If you're saying, if Reggie is saying, listen, if this surgery should have been done a month ago, a month and a half ago, you shouldn't be worrying about the All-Star game, I am in complete agreement. If you needed to get that work done 2 months, a month ago, to start the rehab process, because the most important thing is the Knicks, the team you're on, not All-Star weekend. You can still go around and wave and all that, instead of playing 3 minutes, get a couple of shots off. I mean, if that was the case, if the case Reggie is talking about just because he missed the last 3 games and could have had the surgery a week ago, a week and a half ago instead of now, then I don't have as much of a problem with a week and a half. But if you're talking a month, month and a half, because I know we were talking about this a while ago. Should he just shut it down? We had this discussion a while ago, and that was my thought then. If you feel you need to shut it down, you need to do it and have the surgery, because the most important thing isn't obviously the surgery, it's the recovery from the surgery and when you can get back to being 100%.
Where Mike and Mike were presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today, find out if you could save. To me, there's 2 different things. First off, the most important part of this is the back timing, right? So you need to be healthy in the summer. You need to be healthy to be back at your absolute best by the time you get to training camp of next year. So whatever that time you require is, you start working backwards from that, and that is the absolute last moment at which you can have the surgery. Right. The second part of it, so assuming he hasn't done that, I have to believe that he and the doctors and the team have figured out that if he has the surgery next week or the week after, that he will be ready for training camp and all the rest. I have to believe.
Well, you have to believe, and not ready, just, okay, training camp starts, now I can start going full go. You want to give yourself plenty of buffer time.
That's what I mean. No, you want the summer. You want the summer to get in shape and get ready and work on your game. So I have to believe they've done that.
You would want to think so,
That's first and foremost. The franchise has to have done that first and foremost. That part of it, I assume, is a given. The second part that Reggie is talking about, and this is where I think it becomes sort of an interesting discussion, and I'm not exactly sure I know where I fall, is what he's basically saying is, you're prioritizing the All-Star game over regular games. Your team is playing regular season games. I know they're meaningless. I mean, the team is 10 and whatever they are, 42, 43.
10 and 43, yeah.
10 and 43. So I understand that the games themselves are quote-unquote meaningless, but they're regular season NBA games. You're not healthy enough to play in them, but you're going to be quote-unquote healthy enough to play in this. Now, we all understand. They're not running up and down the floor like crazy in the All-Star game. No one's D'ing you up as hard as they can. It's non-competitive. The other All-Stars, he's friends with those guys. They'll let him go out there and get a couple of shots.
It's not about getting hurt in the All-Star game. It's about waiting,
But just the message that is being sent to some degree to whomever that the All-Star game is more important than the regular season games. I think that's what Reggie is talking about.
And listen, I agree with him to a point, but to your point, and that's what we don't know, I don't know what the knee surgery is. I don't know what the back timing is. But I'll say it again. If the thought process was a month ago or a month and a half ago, you know what, let's have this surgery, and Carmelo said, nah, let's wait a little more and play a little more, I would have disagreed with that. I would have. This season is a lost season. You're counting on him to be healthy, because part of Phil Jackson recruiting stars to come here is Carmelo Anthony is healthy.
Of course.
Not that Carmelo, come here and Carmelo's rehabbing a knee. You don't want that. So, in my opinion, I would have done this as soon as you possibly could. So, to Reggie's point, I would probably lean more to Reggie and say, if this was talked about, and this is where, I need all the information on that, if it was truly talked about being done a month and a half ago, then it should have been done.
Well, they've certainly been talking
I know
about
they've been
doing
talking
it for
about
a month and a half.
But to your point, and it's a valid point, is you backtrack. What is the surgery? What's the rehab? When can you hit the ground rehabbing? When can you hit the ground running?
Exactly. Because the point that Mark Stein was making, and I want you to hear this because it's interesting, our NBA insider Mark Stein was making the point that there are other reasons beyond just Carmelo's ability to play in the fall that the Knicks desperately need him healthy. Carmelo Anthony was hosting the festivities, and I understand that.
Yeah.
There is something to be said for that.
Yes, there is.
It's his town. He's the unquestioned star of the team. He's the only star of the team. And he wants to be able to be the ambassador, for the city and welcoming everyone here. But as Mark Stein, our NBA insider, was making the point, it's not just about Carmelo being healthy enough to play next year. But you alluded to it a moment ago. The Knicks and Phil Jackson need Carmelo Anthony for other reasons. Here's Mark Stein.
They definitely need a healthy Carmelo Anthony for the future, and in free agent recruiting, that's one of the questions that Phil and Carmelo himself, they're going to get, because Carmelo did say today as well, he does plan to be a very active recruiter for the Knicks, and that when he invests himself in the recruiting process, it's because he's going after a player that he really wants to play with. So you can be sure free agents, one of the first questions they're going to ask is, how's the knee? How's your long-term health? Are you going to be ready to go at the start of next season?
And you look at the history of injuries now with Carmelo, who had the shoulder all through last year. Now he's got the knee. And for people who wonder why Carmelo took the money last offseason instead of deferring a year as he could have.
For this reason.
And put himself in a position where LeBron and some of the other guys are, where they're going to be able to opt out and max out at a time when the new TV money comes in. This is why, because Carmelo's body has slowly but surely been breaking down a little bit over the last couple of years. And I think that is going to be a legitimate concern that some of these other free agents, whomever they may be that might consider the Knicks, that's going to be a concern that some of them are going to have.
So here's the deal, Greeny, is listen, I don't care. We're talking about athletes here, but this is anybody. The last thing, the last resort to anything is surgery, correct?
Yeah.
You would rather not have surgery. In football, we would go through this all the time now, whether it was during the regular season, which this is, and I'll get to in a second, but in the off season, when guys get looked at in the off season, the thought process is, can this heal on its own? We'll give it time to heal on its own. If it doesn't heal on its own, we're going to operate. I was always of the ilk, listen, what are the odds of this healing on their own and the odds that I'm still going to need surgery? Because I don't want to wait 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10 weeks to see if it's going to get better and then say, oh, it didn't get better, and then have surgery, because now I'm behind the 8 ball. So that's how I compare it here. And this is the regular season, but it's a regular season that is basically a lost regular season. So now you start thinking, okay, is it an injury that is eventually going to need surgery, or can you rehab your way out of it? Well, all we've heard is this is an injury that's going to require surgery, correct?
Yes.
It's just a matter of when you were going to get the surgery. So to me, going to my logic of that, I'll go back again to the month and a half, however long ago it was, when you're talking with your doctors, if they're saying, you know what, let's give it a couple of months and see if we can work through this to where you maybe won't need surgery, or it's inevitable you're going to need surgery, it's just a matter of when, let's backtrack to saying, I would have gotten the surgery right away. Now, that's just me, and everybody's different. Everybody is completely different with that. But there is so much more to, obviously, the All-Star weekend and this season, which was a lost season, than to get it as soon as you think. It's all about odds. It's all about, what are your best odds to recover if you are going to need it. And you want the most time you can, because of what Mark said, because of what I said earlier, is it's not just about, okay, when they roll the ball out for training camp, you're ready to go. You need to be ready to go well before that, and you need to be ready to go well before that to tell others that are going to come play with you, hey, I'm fine. I got this taken care of. We are all good going forward. So it's a domino effect here. But the main domino that I don't know is, what's the rehab of the surgery? If he can get the surgery after All-Star, and in a couple of months be rehabbing, doing his thing, and be 100% well before camp, then so be it.
Then I don't have any problem with it. Yeah, I do. There's a part of me that appreciates, at a time in sports where so often people complain about the All-Star responsibilities and the duties, and they don't want to do it. I mean, the All-Star game is for the fans.
Yes, it is.
Here's Carmelo wanting to do this for the fans, to be a part of it because they wanted him to be a part of it. So I'm not going to criticize him for it. Again, so long as, and I have to believe, that he and the Knicks have figured out that he will be healthy enough at a time they need him to be healthy enough.
I would agree with you.
Then I'm not going to criticize him.
I would agree with you there. I mean, it would be ridiculous if they didn't, so there's no way we could assume they didn't think about that.
Oh, by the way, they're 0-13 this season without him in the lineup. So the second half of the season is probably going to look a lot like the first, if not even worse. And I tell you, it shapes up to be a huge summer, and I know we got a long way to go before we get to the summer, but two of the league's marquee franchises, the Lakers and the Knicks, are really setting themselves up for very pivotal summers that could go very badly. I mean, you heard Magic Johnson, the great Magic Johnson, on First Take this week when he was in studio with all of us at ESPN. We talked with him about other things. He talked a lot about the Lakers with Skip and Carrie and Steve on First Take, and you heard him talking about how this summer, basically, Jim Buss has got to prove it or it's over.
Right.
I mean, it's basically going to be over, and the list of free agents that are going to be available potentially this summer is not that long. It's not that deep.
No, it's not.
There's going to be quite a battle for them. So the Lakers are going to be out there fighting. The Knicks are going to be out there fighting for these guys, and we'll see what winds up happening. Now, having said all of that, history tells us there are only 3 teams that may win this year's NBA championship.
We've narrowed it down for you.
3 teams, and it's not us, it's math. Each of the last 7 NBA champions reached the All-Star break with a winning percentage of 700 or better. And there are only 3 teams that meet that criteria this season. The Warriors, who have the best record in the NBA, the Hawks, and the Grizzlies. Those are the only 3 teams that meet that criteria. So if you go back over the last 7 years, the teams that win the championship have been this good this quickly, and right now those are the only 3 teams that meet that mark.
And probably a couple of teams you think about that could make a run at some point. You think about reasons why they're not. If you want to start in the West with one team, Oklahoma City, obviously the injuries with Westbrook and with Kevin Durant put them so far behind the 8 ball that, you're sitting there on the outside looking in, but everybody fully expects them, if they can stay healthy and healthier, to make a bit of a run. Is it enough to challenge the top? We'll find out. And then in the East, obviously with the Chicago Bulls, Derrick Rose, remember the beginning of the season, in and out of games. And then the Cavaliers, which getting a whole band of new guys together. And then after getting a couple of new guys together, like Love and LeBron, then you bring in, J.R. Smith, and you bring in Shumpert, you bring in Mozgov because you lose Varejao. So they really have changed that roster. So time to kind of work through that. So those are reasons, I think, for a few other teams on why that they're not at that magic number. So let's see if they break that, if any one of those teams can break that.
The bottom line of it is Golden State and Atlanta have been the 2 best teams in their respective conferences so far this year. And I haven't heard anybody pick either of them.
Nobody has picked either one of them.
Everyone talks about Memphis is a team a lot of people like because they play a style that you would think is dangerous in the postseason. We're going to talk to Steph Curry this morning. That interview we actually did yesterday. We sat down with Steph Curry yesterday, and you'll hear his answer. We brought up to him, people will say you cannot shoot your way to a championship. You will hear Steph Curry's response to that.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
The best of Mike and Mike.
It is our pleasure to welcome the Commissioner of the National Basketball Association here at his party, Adam Silver. And the first thing is, we got you here on the cover of. Yeah. We like the look. What were we going for here? What was the look we were going for? I like it.
I'm not quite sure. The photographer said, take your glasses on and then put them back take your glasses off and put them back on. And so whatever that was supposed to be, it's a little bit of an odd look, but I'll do it again.
He did. So he really. So did you actually think about it? I mean, think about putting them on slowly or try and set the.
I didn't. You know, They said, come, we're going to shoot you. I had 10 minutes, and the guy said, all right, now what? He said, take your glasses on and off. So I took my glasses on and off. I'm like, I thought I was adjusting them or something. I didn't realize that was the shot.
That was the shot, huh?
One of the interesting things that I find now, 1 year into your tenure, is you are leading a league that is in a point of extraordinary success. Yet you seem very open to some pretty significant change. And you've talked openly about changing big things, playoff changes, even gambling, which we'll get to in a moment. Where does that mentality come from, the willingness to be potentially making significant change at a time of strength?
I think it comes from being around the business for a long time, and not just for sports, but for all the various industries that we deal with, watching whether it's ESPN and all the changes you've gone through, or it's, the Disney company or Time Warner, all our great partners. What I've learned from a lot of CEOs out there is that you got to constantly be looking to change, and if you relax and sort of get settled on what you're doing just because you're successful, you ultimately fall behind. So and in part from David Stern too, I give him a lot of credit. I worked for him for all those years, and he was constantly re-examining everything we did as well.
How was that met like amongst other owners who some may say, you know what? Things are good right now.
It's a mix, and we have a new generation of owners in the league too, and I think they're the ones who are also pushing at me, because a lot of them who come from outside this industry, a lot of them, like a guy like Mark Cuban. I mean, when Broadcast.com is a company that made him so wealthy, allowed him to buy the team. I mean, that was transformative, that was disruptive to come in there. I think, or even Jim Dolan here in New York, who, in terms of what he's done on the Cablevision side of his business, or Steve Ballmer with Microsoft. So those kinds of owners, I mean, they're used to pushing the envelope. At the same time, there are a group of owners who are saying, I just had lunch with one of them who said, I hear you talking about all these things, but be careful. I mean, precisely your point, he's like, things are going pretty well. So, while we should be looking at some of those changes, you don't overreact. And a good example of that is the draft lottery. I mean, for example, we have rules in place to ensure that people don't overreact. Like the draft lottery, changing that requires 3/4 of the owners. It's a little bit like the Senate requires more than a majority. And for example, we discussed that issue at the October meeting. At the end, a majority of owners wanted to change it. There were 17 votes to change it, but it would have required 23 votes. So that's a little bit of an institutional check on making changes too quickly.
How about the playoffs one? You've talked about that, I think, on a Warriors broadcast the other night. You might be in a situation where, and these things can be cyclical, but there are some teams in the Eastern Conference that will get in that clearly aren't as good as some of the Western Conference teams that may miss out, and that might mean no big stars like Kevin Durant and Anthony Davis in the postseason. How would that process go? How open are you to changing the playoff process?
I'm open there. It is cyclical, but the West has been dominant for so long, and part of the problem is if the West stays dominant and very good teams that otherwise should be in the playoffs don't make the playoffs, they then, of course, get a higher seeding in the draft. So it becomes self-perpetuating, and then they get even better because they have higher draft picks. So that's something that I think we definitely should look at. I believe in the conference and the division system. I mean, one of the proposals I talked about on that Warriors broadcast was this notion that division winners automatically make it, and then you seed the remaining teams. That might be too extreme, but I don't like the fact that teams with better records are then not making it into the playoffs. I don't think it's a huge issue, because at the end of the day, most of the appropriate teams are in the playoffs, but right at the edges, maybe we should take a look at something.
The old adage, any publicity is good publicity. With the situation with James Dolan and the email and Barkley and Daryl, the GM for the Rockets, do you adhere to that any publicity is good publicity?
I thought that was true until I saw my picture on the back of the Daily News, and it said Adam Bombs or something like that. I was like, whoa, the honeymoon's over. But, so up until that point, I don't exactly agree with that. I mean, I think, it's great to get positive publicity around the league, but no, and I think that situation in New York with Jim Dolan, I mean, it's not the kind of publicity we were looking for going into All-Star. I would say I was surprised that it kept feeding the tabloids for multiple days. I mean, it's clearly an email that Jim Dolan wished he hadn't sent, but my reaction is we all have those emails that we wish we hadn't hit sent on. I didn't think it rose to the level where there should be league discipline, but obviously the public makes their judgments about an email like that, and he understands that.
Adam Silver is with us, the commissioner of the NBA. When the Los Angeles Clippers sell for $2 billion, a team that had been valuated by Forbes at less than half that not long saying before. What does that do to the NBA? What does that then in turn do for everyone and to everyone when the Clippers sell for $2 billion?
I think, one, no question, it has an impact on the value of all of our franchises. And to the extent Forbes is accurate, I'm not so sure, because they valued it at half that amount. But Forbes recently came out with a valuation that suggested that all our franchises had grown in value at a rate of over 70% for the last season. So that's very positive in terms of the business. But there's no doubt, too, I think it's not just the value that the Clippers sold for, but when somebody like Steve Ballmer, who has had the track record he's had as building Microsoft, being the CEO of a large public company, when he's willing to make a bid like that, and remember, there were other bidders not so far behind them, so it wasn't a complete outlier. On the other hand, it's a big market franchise. I think other teams will get valued accordingly, but I think it's great news for the league. It's great news for the players that the public markets are valuing our content at such a high rate.
You're on the cover of the gambling issue of ESPN, the magazine. If there's one thing I love, it is a person in power who actually applies logic to a situation, which you have done and so few others have. People are gambling on professional sports. That is the reality. For decades now, people have tried to pretend it wasn't the reality, but it obviously is. You're the first person in a position of your sort to have come out and said so quite so publicly. What do you believe is the future of gambling relative to professional sports, the NBA, and others as well?
Well, so one of the reasons I came out with my position, to your point, people are gambling on professional sports, and not just gambling, but gambling at record amounts. I mean, the estimates are that up to $400 billion a year are being bet on sports in the United States illegally, and there's only a small share of that betting that's legal in Nevada and a few other pockets in the United States. My view is eventually it will become legal, and part of the reason I came out publicly is because a lot of the states, for example, New Jersey, Governor Christie has been very outspoken pushing for legalized gambling in the state there, and not because he's saying I'm a proponent of sports betting, it's because it's a potentially an important revenue source for the state when all the states are, frankly, looking for other ways to generate revenue. So I think there will be other states that will follow behind Governor Christie, and my view is that rather than end up with a hodgepodge of state regulations, if it's going to happen, we should be part of the process, and we should have a seat at the table with the federal government, with Congress, to say, let's develop a national regulatory framework to protect the integrity of our sport if this is going to be a legalized activity in this country.
Is it something that you will talk with other commissioners about, or have, or will, or bring it up with them to try and be an all-encompassing situation?
Yeah, I'm happy to talk to the other commissioners about it. I mean, our offices talk a lot about it. All of the leagues have been involved in this lawsuit in the state of New Jersey involving Governor Christie, so it's come up through there. I think some of the other commissioners and I have asked me. They've just flat out said, so why did you take that position? What is it that you're looking at? I've told them, we've shared information, and I think all the commissioners and all the leagues have to land on a position they're comfortable with. But they're all aware. I mean, look at the so-called daily fantasy business right now. I mean, FanDuel, DraftKings, those other services out there. I mean, I'm careful not to label those gambling. I mean, those are still in the fantasy category, but those are cash businesses. They're generating an enormous amount of interest from fans, and so all of the leagues are involved in those businesses. So it would be hard to not see what's happening culturally in our country around sports betting.
Right. It means it makes sense.
Yeah.
And sometimes things, when they make sense, they get done. Two things quickly before we let you go. One is Slam Dunk Contest, which forever has been the centerpiece, the jewel of the NBA All-Star Weekend. Many people feel it's lost a bit of its luster. Some of the biggest stars in the NBA, for whatever reason, don't want to be a part of it. Is it something you're concerned about? Is it something that you could see significant change coming to?
It's one of the things I always worry a little bit about every year, because I grew up watching some of those great Slam Dunk contests, and, I wish our biggest stars were participating in it. On the other hand, it continues to be the highest rated event every All-Star Saturday night. It's a great opportunity for the young rising stars to participate. We're always looking at changing the format and new ideas. We're sort of going back to the sort of old school approach this year for the Slam Dunk. We may have gotten carried away a little bit with the way the format worked last year. So we're always looking at it. And I mean, it sounds like a broken record, but I'm open to everything. And I think if there are better ways to do it, people keep sending in ideas, and I'm talking to our teams, and we want to make sure that, at the end of the day, Saturday night's a celebration of the game. It's not supposed to be serious. I know some of the old school people say, I don't like all the props, and why are they jumping over cars and wearing capes and stuff like that. But on the other hand, I think it's fun. As long as players, are injured, stay safe and have fun. That's what All-Star Saturday Night's about.
Have you thought of other possible events, whether it's replacing a slam dunk or just adding different?
I remember when they played horse. I remember Pete Maravich sitting on the seat of his pants, shooting free throws, playing horse. I think we should have horse.
All right, we have looked at horse competition. We've looked at a bunch of things. Part of it is that I need the players to be enthusiastic about it. Right. So I want to sit down with the players too, and I said, to the extent there are contests like that they're going to embrace, and the best players are going to want to be part of it. That's what's going to make it the most fun for the fans.
We know you need to go. It is.
But I got one more.
Just
because it involves the two of us. Really, now you've got to know us a little bit now. Who do you think is going to coach better in the Celebrity All-Star game?
I brought the rosters with me.
Yes.
And Golick, so I saw the late edition of Sarah Silverman.
Listen,
so I'm a big Sarah Silverman fan.
She's going to make people laugh enough to get off a clean shot.
She's not necessarily funnier than Kevin Hart. I've got Kevin Hart, and he's very funny.
Monet Davis, by the way, Secret is incredible baseball player, but her true love is basketball. At least
that's exactly right. Right.
We have
Kevin
Hart.
Yeah.
Hey,
how about the Hart?
Common can ball.
Yeah.
Seen him,
Common. We were in the movie with Common.
Some guy named Allen Houston.
We were in the movie Just Right.
Yes,
That's a true story.
We were
in Just Right, and we were not credited.
We were not credited.
And I still got a check every once in a while, and it's for $17. And every time it airs on TBS or something. So if I see Common, I'm going to ask him if his checks are also $17, which I would be curious.
We're really thinking about knocking his playing time down until we get credit for the movie.
By the way, I'm worried about Spike giving up on the East. I see he's a coach in the West. Are things that bad?
I'm letting him run the show. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, we need to let you go. Commissioner, thanks a million.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much for doing this.
Mike and Mike.
Here we are with, to this point in the season, the most valuable player in the NBA, Steph Curry. And I'm going to begin by making an admission. And that is when you came out in the draft, I said, he's too small. He's just a pure shooter. He's never going to be much more than that in the NBA. He'll be a good player. He'll never be a great player. I certainly wasn't the only one. And obviously, you've proven me wrong. How much did those doubts that people had about you coming out of a small school, seeing your relatively smaller frame, how much did those doubts fuel you and get you to where you are now?
A lot. I've heard it since high school as the same criticism. Physical stature, wasn't ready to bang with the big guys on the D1 level. I was able to navigate my way through that, and then obviously the same talk when I was drafted. And you take it for what it is, because obviously you got to play the game and let those abilities come out. And I tried to just be myself, but get better every single year, and it's been a fun ride, and obviously trying to enhance my point guard skills to not only just be able to shoot but pass and get into the lane and finish at the rim, which helped me kind of be more of a.
Did you carry that chip on the shoulder mentality? Is there one there?
There is. I remember most of that stuff when people were saying, especially coming out of the draft. I appreciate the admission, but like I said, when I'm on the court, I'm not really like, I gotta make this shot so I can, turn around and say, hey, haters, like, take that.
You just tweet that.
Yeah, I work hard to prove them wrong throughout the course of the career, and that's the mindset.
My son is 12. You're his favorite team, and he says because they are by far the most fun team in the NBA to watch. Is it as much fun playing for the Golden State Warriors as it looks like it would?
It is.
What has made it that?
I don't know. We have an identity of just up and down, but it's like controlled chaos where we're not afraid to take quick shots, to take difficult shots. With the talent that we have, and we have a lot of skill on our team, and it kind of shows throughout the course of the season. And when you get into those modes where people are texting each other like, y'all got to turn on your league pass or whatever and watch what's going on, those kind of games are the most fun, especially at home at Oracle Arena. The best fans in the league. And the stuff that we can do on the court, it's flashy, but it's it's skillful stuff, and we enjoy it.
So along with that, we just talked about you personally coming into the league and doubters, and then your team is doing what it's doing, which is incredible. And people talk about how they love watching you guys play, yet some of the analysts, some of the former players are like, but not sure if it's a championship team, if a shooter team can be a championship team. Is that talked about in your guys' locker room? Is that a locker room chip thing, like we need to prove some people wrong?
Yeah, we got some guys that will write stuff on the whiteboard. Most notably, I think Charles Barkley said it a couple of times. Even Kenny Smith said it a couple of times. You can't shoot jump shots into your way to win a ring, but we don't believe that. Like, we're going to play the way we're going to play. We obviously understand we can't be stubborn and just, if things are going wrong, just keep jacking up jump shots. We're not going to be that kind of team, but do what we do well, play to our strengths, and just be consistent with it, and I think good things will happen. We have all the pieces we need to win a championship on both ends of the floor, so we want to prove people wrong in that sense too.
Is Steve Curry a better shooter than you?
Right now, no. I can say that confidently. Right now, no. We do like free throw contests after practice and stuff, and I got a pretty good record. I'm like 14-2. But in the 90s, that man could really, knock it down. And obviously, I think percentage-wise, I think he's the best three-point shooter in NBA history. So you can't argue that.
We had Russell Westbrook out here, and I asked him, could anyone beat you and Kevin in a game of 2-on-2? And he said no. Do you think you and Clay could beat the two of them in a game of 2-on-2? Could anybody beat you and Clay in a game of 2-on-2?
I always say it's probably going to be a make-it-take-it game, and we're going to shoot for balls, so we'll probably get it first. we just got to keep shooting our way and don't let the other team get it, whoever it is.
That's a good way. Make-it-take-it's the way to go. So for you, one thing, Brittany asked me as an athlete at times, when an athlete gets into a zone, so how early can you tell if you're having one of those nights? Is it 2 shots in, 3? How many do you make where you say, okay, it's on?
I'll use the Dallas game a couple weeks ago. I had 51 in that game. That was the last time I was really in a zone. And it's so weird because I tell people before the game, I have my pregame shooting routine. I've shot the worst I've ever shot in my entire life in that 20-minute warm-up. So if you asked me right after I walked off the court pregame, I'd been like, I'm about to find something to get myself going. I got in the game, and I missed my first 3 shots, and I made my next 3. And at that point, I'm like, all right, I think I found something. Let me hope I get a couple of, more open looks. And next thing you know, in the third quarter, everything I threw up was going in. I just had that big eye. The rim, feels like it's 2 times as big as it is, and everything is just in sync. So I think probably three or four makes in a row, and you're like, all right, it's time to go. And even if like the 5th one misses and it's in and out, it's like, just give me back. I'll make up for it. So it happens pretty quick.
Steph Curry is with us, and just another moment before we ask to run. We've seen now the commercials, the stardom, you're all over the place, and you seem to be, at least from the outside, extremely grounded. How much do you think the fact that your father played in the league, sort of has been down this road, understands some of the potential pitfalls, how has that helped you keep your feet as close to the ground as they seem to be?
It helps a lot because he retired when I was 13, so played 16 years, so I remember a lot of his career. And he was never an all-star. He was, a great shooter, obviously one of the best in NBA history. He never had the platform that I do now, which I'm blessed to have. But to be around, see how he interacted with fans, just to kind of get the feel of what life was like in the NBA, both on and off the court, it helped a lot, especially my rookie year as I got into it. And nothing could prepare me for this, because it's a whirlwind of stuff, and trying to balance. I have a young family, and trying to balance that with where I'm at my basketball career. So I'm still leaning on him for advice, but you kind of got to go through it and get your bearings straight and figure out what's important to you and prioritize and that kind of deal. And there's no real lesson for that. It's just kind of trial and error, and hope you handle it the right way.
So probably the most important question, though, do you actually like chicken curry?
I love it. My wife makes a good chicken curry. We don't have it that often, but when we do, I like it.
Steph, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks a million. Good luck. Have fun this weekend. Thank you very much.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
It has officially gone completely nuts here in the lobby of the Sheraton, and one of the reasons why is because one of the biggest stars in the NBA has joined us from the New Orleans Pelicans. Anthony Davis is on our set. It is a pleasure to have you here. Thank you for coming by.
Thanks for having me. The greatest thing about basketball players is you know when they're coming. you absolutely the people that are just looking at them and following them, but you just see them over everybody else.
You know, I'd love to start with that conversation, Anthony, because it has to feel like 1 minute in your life you're a kid growing up in Chicago. I mean, you're a talented, gifted high school player, and I'm sure some people pay attention to you.
Talented.
Well, I mean, you obviously had something going for you. But you're a high school basketball player, and you are, for all intents and purposes, a normal human being. And here you are, not all that far removed from that in terms of actual time. And everywhere you go, just throngs of people are following you, and cameras and attention and all the rest of that. What is that transition like for a person as young as you are?
It's tough. Like you said, I wasn't that known in high school, growing up. And then all of a sudden, the snap of a finger, you're like this icon and this idol to the kids, and everybody wants your autograph pictures, cameras following you. It's been crazy, but at the same time, I'm enjoying it, trying to suck it all in.
Who do you turn to? Who have you turned to for advice on how to handle it, on how not to let it get away from you or perhaps overwhelm you? I mean, you have a lot on your plate, obviously. Who have you turned to for advice on how to keep everything on some degree of balance?
I think my head coach. He's been through it. He's been with guys who've been through it. Tim Duncan. He's been with some greats, around Pop. So I go to him for a lot of advice and try to see how to handle everything that's going on.
I mean, at this point, the comparisons they're making of when you start, if you're going to start a team now, it's always been LeBron. I mean, now your name gets thrown into that. Your name gets thrown into going to be the most sought-after free agent whenever that time comes. I mean, does that, at any point, does that sink into you of just the level you've risen to in this league?
Not yet. I still think I have a lot to accomplish in this league, a lot to do. But at the same time, I know where I am right now, and I know, my status, as of right now. But just to be thrown in the category of LeBron, Melo, Kobe, Kevin Durant is also an honor, in my third year, and people listen to me in that conversation with them guys. It was just a blessing.
Well, you played with a lot of those guys during the summer with Team USA, and it was really, not that you needed a coming out party, because I think we had already seen what you were capable of on the NBA level, but it really seemed to go another level there. People were very impressed with not only how well you played, but how hard you played. What was that experience like for you, and what did you take away from playing with those superstars over the summer?
It was unbelievable, getting the chance to skip summer league and go play in the Olympics, my first year. Them guys did a great job of teaching me a lot of lessons about the NBA, teaching me how to work hard. I kind of worked hard, but I didn't really know what working hard was until I got around them guys. After practice, they sticking around, putting up millions and millions of shots, working on their game. And at first, I was just sitting on the sideline. Practice is over, I'm done. And they told me, since practice is over, you still got to get your extra work in, whether it's shooting, getting cardio, lifting, and I think I took that mindset from the whole experience.
So we talking a lot about you as an individual, but you're in a team sport, and your team is just on the outside looking in, the battle of Oklahoma City and Phoenix and you guys for that A spot. Now Oklahoma City seeming to get healthier. But so the individual accolades are coming your way, but where do you feel this team is at this point?
I think we're fine. One game above 500 in a tough race with, like you said, OKC and Phoenix. But at the same time, I know what my team can do. We defend and we play hard. And when we do that, we give ourselves a chance to win every game. And no matter who's hurt, myself, Drew, Ryan, we're going to make sure that we compete. And all the guys on our team believe that we can win it. That's the mindset that we have.
And speaking of the hurt, how are you? How's the shoulder? How is that all going?
Doing good. Getting better. Each and every day. Still doing treatment and rehab. So hopefully I'll be back after All-Star.
Mike and Mike, Anthony Davis, you were a part, of course, of a great college team that won the national championship playing for Coach Cal at Kentucky. He's got another team this year that is getting a whole lot of attention, obviously unbeaten, people talking all about them. If your Kentucky team played this Kentucky team, how would that game go?
Oh, we'll destroy them. No question. They're a great talented team. They're starting to realize that every team that they play, is their biggest game. And so when they get that in their brains, then I think they'll go even far and then push themselves to the next level. But right now, they're doing tremendous things. 24-0, better record than what we had. But at the end of the day, they have to win. We won, so when they win, then we can start comparing teams.
Yeah, undefeated doesn't mean nothing until you close the deal, right?
Exactly.
And with Coach Cal, talk about him for a minute, because he's a guy, every year he knows he gets players for 1 year and he's moving on. So his coaching style seems to always be, okay, I got these guys for a year, we're going to try and win. And is there a preparation that he helps you with the NBA? Does that come with it?
Yeah, he sits you down in his office and asks you, what do you want to do? He's not going to pressure you to leave. He's not going to pressure you to stay. It's all on you. When I sat down with him, he asked me, I said, I feel like I'm ready. He said, all right, we'll go talk to your family, whoever you need to talk to, and we can go from there, but he's definitely going to give you advice. He's coached in the NBA, so he knows what general managers and organizations are looking for. So that's a great situation for everybody who goes to Kentucky, because he kind of has that inside scoop already and knows what guys are looking for, so he can help you out with that.
Anthony Davis is here with us, brought to you by American Express. You can go to youtube.com/American Express. Right now you can see the All-Star journeys behind the All-Star moves, the personal stories that got some of your favorite players to the All-Star game. And I know Mike in particular, and I as well. I think everyone loves to see those kinds of stories. We all see the finished product. We see the slam dunks on the court. We see the holding up the trophy. We see the fashion shows and all the other stuff that come with that. But what we don't see, and I think it's important for young kids who have an interest, not just in sports, but really in anything, is we don't see all of the work that went into getting Anthony Davis to where you're sitting right now.
Yeah, it's tons of work. I had to put in countless amount of hours to get where I am, sacrificing, not hanging out with my friends or doing whatever, and being in the gym to get where I am. And at first it might seem like, a little jaded, or I don't want to do this, or I'm cool, but at the end of the day, it works out for you.
It was a great commercial because it had a lot of you guys in your journeys, and for me personally, Greeny said, I love that, because you don't just snap your fingers and you're a superstar. There's a lot behind. They did a great job with that commercial. Yeah,
did an excellent job. And it's probably one of the best commercials I've been a part of. The way that they use all different camera angles and the pivots, and to make us look good. And it's an amazing experience. I've never seen anything like it before.
Anthony Davis is with us. I want you to hear something that was said on our show earlier this week. We had Magic Johnson on in our studio earlier this week. Now, you've gotten a lot of accolades, and people have said a lot of nice things about you, and I have to believe those are all lovely. But when Magic Johnson talks, people listen.
It's different than when we say nice things about you than Magic Johnson.
I can think you're terrific, and at the end of the day, that's not really doing you a whole lot of good. Magic Johnson, one of the greatest players of all time. I asked him about Anthony Davis. This is what Magic Johnson said.
He's the new LeBron. He's the younger version of LeBron. He's the bigger version of LeBron. I mean, he can do it all. And the thing about it, you said his age, that's the scariest thing, because he's only going to get better. I would be shocked if he didn't win 4 or 5 MVPs of the league, a few titles, because he is that good. And he'll make everybody around him better.
That was Magic Johnson with us earlier.
No pressure,
this week. What do you think?
A lot of pressure. This is a blessing. That's humbling right there, to hear that from Magic, like you said, one of the all-time greats, to say something like that. It's a lot different. You hear your family, of course, and your friends and your teammates, but when a guy who's been through, who's won NBA rings and been through, everything and won the accolades, for him to see the same thing, and me as he see in LeBron, who's accomplished tons of things, it means a lot.
So in that vein, though, we see you play, and people see you play and say, kids, that could be the best player in the NBA right now. He's at the top of his game. But to get there, the work involved, but also you understand there's always things to work on. So what does Anthony Davis have to work on in his game?
Right now I'm trying to work on extending my shooting range, ball handling, still trying to get stronger. I'm still, trying to be a leader,
communicating with my team, talking offensively and defensively, learning the game still. So there's a lot that you can work on. I mean, I don't think no one is good at everything, and so for myself, each something, I'm trying to bring something new to the game.
One other thing I'd be curious to ask you about, here you are now in your third year and having enormous success. You are one of the many one-and-done guys in college based upon the rule, one of many who probably would not have gone to college had that rule not been in place. You were going to be a super high draft pick coming right out of high school. How did that 1 year impact you? There's so many critics of the one-and-done rule. Some say get rid of it entirely. Some say make it at least 2 years. The 1 year that you played in college, what did that do for you, and what do you think of the one-and-done rule?
I think a lot of guys, who went from high school to the NBA, had success. But I always say, as far as me, I was 212, playing forward. First game we played was against Tim Duncan. So if I went from high school to the NBA, first game Tim Duncan, that would have been terrible, and it definitely helped me develop and mature and get my mind right to play in the NBA. I think some guys can do it, some guys can't. But I think it should be a choice, a choice that you should make, whether you want to leave or you want to go to college for a year. Because everybody is different. I think you should be able to have that choice. But for myself, I don't think I was ready.
So you think if you had the choice, you wouldn't have gone out of high school?
I would have went to college for sure.
Yeah.
Anthony, it is such a pleasure to have you here.
Well, I have to keep asking this because we asked all the other guys. I got Russell Westbrook bringing 8 outfits to the All-Star weekend. Damian Lillard said he only had 5 because he was a late ad, so he only got 5. So, you guys are the fashion moguls of the sports world in the NBA. How many outfits does Anthony Davis bring?
I think I have 5.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you well into that whole? I mean,
I'm not into the whole little fashion little thing, being a model, walking on a runway. That's not me. But I do like to dress nice. So, it's All-Star weekend. It's kind of mandatory you dress nice. So, I'm about 5 outfits.
And obviously, the brow has become something so synonymous with you. But do you have people following you with tweezers? I mean, do you have estheticians walking up behind you saying, "Listen, let me just get in there for 1 second"?
No. A lot of makeup artists.
Yeah.
Come to me and say, just come to my shop or just let me trim it real quick. And I said, no, I'm fine. I appreciate it, though.
It's definitely part of the look. Again, youtube.com/American Express. You can discover the journeys and personal stories.
Really cool.
That got some of your favorite players to the All-Star game. Wonderful stories there. And just a terrific young man. Congratulations, Anthony Davis.
Really
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to have you here. Anthony Davis, one of the genuinely great young players in the NBA.
The best of Mike and Mike.
All right, it is our pleasure to welcome, and when I'm going to say this, I'm going to say it sincerely. We had a conversation this morning about how young people should be listening to how hard these NBA players work, the stories of how hard they work, because we get to see them on the court with the slam dunks and holding up the trophies and in the fashion shows and everything. And what you don't get to see is the work that goes into it. And what I have admired so much in getting to know our friend Kevin Hart, who is now maybe the hottest comedian and one of the top movie stars in Hollywood today, is the amount of work. Can we put his mic up a little closer to him there? Go, help him with his mic.
Do something. What is going on? Do something.
is the amount of work that is going on. I mean, this week you were in Madrid, you were in Dublin, you were in the gym every single day, and you're constantly talking about your grind. So you're a guy who is working hard.
I am the definition of hard work, Mike. That's what I want to say. First of all, why do y'all have me in this performance set?
We call it a Madonna headset.
What is going on?
I don't know.
Why am I in a love seat? I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable. I don't feel like myself. It's stupid.
You know what? We're trying. You have to adapt.
Listen,
you have to adapt.
Like, I'm afraid to turn too fast. Mike. Yeah, Mike. Yeah. Well, I'm working hard out here. I don't feel like I can even see you guys. Why do I feel like Janet Jackson in her control video? It's just so good, but not.
It's something new we're trying.
Okay.
How do you feel it's working so far?
For me, no. I want you guys to buy another set like this and throw them both in the trash. I'm not for this. I just don't. It's like, well, guys, Hey, happy to be in New York.
We do talk about your hard work and all that, but it seems because you worked so hard and you got tired and you fell down because you ripped your pants.
No. First of all, Wolverine attacked me outside. I got attacked by one of the X-Men in Times Square right before we came in. No, this is all a part of my preparation for tonight's game. I let my knees out, okay? This is serious right now. You guys do know that you're talking to a 3-time MVP.
We do.
Let's soak that in for a second. I think you guys need to understand that this is a big deal. I don't have to be here. I'm a 3-time MVP. This is when I'm normally getting the bubble bath prepping for my game, okay? This is 3-time MVP status time right now, okay? This is the big deal. Let's soak that in. Before we talk about all of my accolades and all of my hard work, talk about what I do on the court for 2 seconds.
Here, and now
3-time MVP is what I do.
Okay, and you know how much I respect that? I'm coaching against you tonight, and this is what I said about the game tonight.
What did you say?
If it gets on the line and you guys need to score, I said we're fouling Kevin Hart because he'll choke at the free throw line.
That's a bad move.
Yeah, you think? Is that bad coaching?
Coach, let me tell you a little story that rhymes with great. I remember one time. That's right. We're showing Kevin Hart highlights. Look at that guy. Look at him. That's when I was out of shape, by the way. That's when I was out of shape. Okay? I remember that. That's when Bruce tried to punch me.
And you fell on the ground.
The cameras caught it. Bruce tried to end my career right there. It was a low move. Right now, I'm telling you guys, I'm coming in lean. I have about 4% body fat. That means I got in shape. Did you see my men's health cover?
Yes, I did actually, yes, yeah.
That's where I'm at right now. Okay?
So no photoshopping there?
No, ain't no photoshopping.
Just asking.
It looks like somebody drew me right now. If I take my shirt off, it looks like somebody drew me. Okay? This is real, people. I'm over here looking like a masterpiece. I'm ready today. I'm ready for action, man. Okay? And I tell you what I'm going to do. When I leave, I'm gonna take this chair with me and throw it outside. This is stupid. Why would you guys put me in this type of chair? Why would y'all do it? What producer did this to me?
Kevin Hart is not comfortable on our set here, but hopefully he'll be comfortable tonight in the celebrity game because I'm coaching your team and you're starting. You're my starting point guard. I'm counting on you to run the offense efficiently tonight and get things done.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about a bunch of other stuff that you have going on because I follow you on Twitter. I follow you all over the world and the things that have been going on. What to you is the most fun? You do the movies, you do the stand-up routine, which I know that you have a new concert tour that you've been going on, all that kind of stuff. Which is more fun for you? The immediate, that's more fun, right? The immediate reaction?
Stand-up comedy, 110%. I'm happy about everything that's going on with me now. I love the movies, I love the TV, but I'm a comedian. None of this happens without the stand-up comedy background. So I literally pay homage to those before me that laid the groundwork for me to do what I'm doing today. But as a comedian, there's nothing better than that immediate return of laughter, like that immediate effect that you have on a crowd from telling your stories, from being who you are, from being that personality. Nothing beats that. So right now, I don't even know if you guys noticed or not, I'm going on a world tour, biggest tour ever. Yeah, I just said that. I said it. Biggest tour ever, everywhere. No place is left unturned or denied.
What's the biggest difference when you were an up-and-comer going on stage to now that you're this world star going back to your roots a little bit, going on stage, but so well known? Is there a difference?
I think the biggest difference now is that people immediately put a story to your face when they see you. Everybody has a comedic setting or a comedic moment with me. Oh, the joke that you said about blah, blah, blah. Oh, my God, I related when you said this or that. So now when I go on stage, and yeah, it is bigger venues, arenas, and stadiums, the fact that I make those big places intimate by telling stories, and everybody's waiting for that moment to laugh. To me, that's the best thing in the world. All races, all shapes, all sizes. Like, let me tell you a little thing about Kevin Hart, third person. The thing about Kevin Hart that I love the most, I represent multicultural entertainment. Any and everybody. I'm now at a point where you just talked about me going to Madrid and Dublin and
I know
London,
where you've been better
all these
than you
different places. The beautiful thing is that I'm going to all of these different countries, but everybody identifies with the same thing, which is laughter. And that's what I've learned. That's the one thing that we all share. We all share laughter. So if I'm saying something that's universal that everybody can laugh at, that means I'm doing the right thing because I can now travel the world telling my jokes that everybody gets. And that's the biggest thing in the world. That's why I'm a big deal. The thing about Kevin, everybody says the same thing. I get it. I relate to that. That's why all my jokes are personal. All of them are about me, my experiences, what I've done. Because if you're talking about that, you now put people in a situation where they identify with you. It's a smart thing, man, what I'm doing. It really is, Mike.
Mike and Kevin Hart, who is definitely trending now. What's trending now? Brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. New improved taste, 10 great flavors. Have you tried 5 Hour Energy shots lately? Let's talk about basketball. We know your love for sports. I saw you at the Super Bowl with Will Ferrell. Yeah. So we know how much you love sports, and you hang out with a lot of the basketball players. Yeah. We've seen it. Yeah. So tell us about some of the guys. Who are the funniest guys in the NBA amongst the big stars to hang out with?
Oh,
who's
my goodness, man.
Give me some fun
stories.
What?
I was with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook last night. We had a good time. Russell had some pants on that I believe made his butt bleed. I've never seen jeans tighter in my life. Listen, Russell had some pants on that made me question if he was a man. I just didn't. There's no way that he could be a man. I questioned him. I said, hey, buddy, is it a situation where do you not have what we're supposed to have? Like it was so bad. But we go back and forth. We have a good time. Brian's always funny. He's good to poke fun at. Melo's funny. Chris Paul's funny. I just love the fact that I tease guys. My goal is to take their confidence away before they do anything live. So I think that's the best thing about NBA guys. Like, they're all cool, but you hit them real quick, you take their confidence away. Like, I'm going to do it all throughout the day to day. I'm going to see a lot of guys. This is where they get dressed up and think they look good. But ultimately, what they got to realize, tall guys don't look good in clothes. I don't care what you say. There's a couple of them that try to get things tailored. You still look stupid. At the end of the day, you're made for sweatsuits. That's it. Sweatsuits. That's it. Sweatsuits.
So you don't buy into their whole fashion routine.
No, I don't. I don't get it. And I'm going to say it a lot. Like, did you see the jacket the White had on the other night?
Yes, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my God. What was
loud, wasn't it?
Loud is an understatement. Yeah. It looks like a kid made that in arts and craft class. It was the worst jacket. It was one of the worst jackets I've ever seen. It looked like it should be on the space shuttle. It looked like the design on the back of the space shuttle when it takes off. Like, and there's the U.S. and you see that jacket. Like, we're going. Go USA. I hated that jacket. I literally can't wait to see the looks of this weekend. I can't.
Kevin Hart is with us, but they are very into that. I mean, these guys, we've talked to almost all of them now about their fashion and their desire to get into fashion. And I remember you're not crazy about some of them. Like some of the stuff Dwayne Wade was wearing during their NBA Finals run.
No, you talking about when D-Wade wore my suit?
Exactly.
When D-Wade wore that suit. D-Wade's suit made it look like, I don't want to say this, but I'm going to say it because it'll be big for you guys. D-Wade's suit is basically what's responsible for women catching Houston, Texas. Listen, if men could catch Houston, Texas, it's from that type of apparel. I've never seen anything like it. It was so tight and bulged up. Like, we were talking and he sat down and everything went up, and I've never seen a man go. When he sat down, he was like, I said, "Oh God, D-Wade's dying! He's dying!" He said, "I'm not dying. My pants just went up in my ear." He kept trying to scooch his pants down. Harden had something on last year. It was like a snakeskin leather shirt, and I was like, "There's no way you don't stink. Like, there's no way that your body doesn't smell with that shirt on. There's no way. There's no way you don't build up an odor." Like, it was, you could tell. Like, that was one of those shirts where you do this twice, you sweat. I was like, "You stink under that." He's like, "No, I don't." And like, his beard was like rubbing the shirt. It was wrong. It was all wrong. It was all wrong.
Kevin Hart is with us. He'll stay for. We'll try and get him a more comfortable chair as we continue here live at
Do
the
I
Sheridan.
look cool at least?
You look great.
Ask the people on Twitter to tweet if I look cool. I'm trying my best to make this work,
what
guys.
You got to work with.
Yeah,
right?
I'm trying my best to make this work.
It is an unusual look. There's no two ways about it. But one way or another, the great Kevin Hart is here. We'll talk about all the projects he has working, and we'll look ahead to his performance tonight as my point guard in the Celebrity All-Star Game. We are Mike and Mike with the great Kevin Hart, who is here, 3-time Celebrity All-Star Game MVP, and his movie, The Wedding Ringer, is still out right now everywhere. It did extraordinarily well. I'm taking my family to see it tomorrow, which I'm looking forward to. The one thing I want to ask you in the 2 minutes we have here, and then the rest of the country will join us, just on a slightly more serious note, I love the show Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee. I'm a huge fan of Jerry Seinfeld's. And what I love is that when he gets guys like yourself on the comics and you talk about the art of comedy. And I thought that was really fascinating. What was that like for you? Because he's obviously such an iconic figure. The two of you guys just talking about the actual construction of doing comedy.
First and foremost, for everybody watching, I am sitting on a box. I just want to clear that up because people are going to probably go, "Oh my God, Kevin looks so much taller."
Yeah.
I'm sitting on something because I didn't like the chair.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld is amazing. My respect for Jerry before we did the show was through the roof. I knew him. I've met him a couple times. I've known him. After that, we were supposed to just go out for about 2 hours and talk. Me and Jerry ended up spending about 7.5 hours. We exceeded what the show was supposed to do, but our conversation was amazing because the information that Jerry gave me and that I was giving back, for me, was mind-blowing. Like, the questions that you have that so many people are afraid to ask, I asked. I wanted to know, how do you keep doing stand-up comedy? You made it. Your sitcom did this, and this. Financially, you don't have to. His love for the craft is what I'm in love with because I love the craft. And talking to Jerry Seinfeld made me realize that as comedians, we love doing what we do, and he's an example of it. And I think that episode if you haven't seen it, please, guys, go watch that episode.
It was fantastic. It really was. We're going to pause very briefly here, 10 seconds. The rest of the country will join us, and then they, too, will get to see Kevin Hart sitting on a box.
The strategy for the game, they said if it's close at the end and you have to foul someone, I said I'm following Kevin Hart because he'll show up at the free throw line.
No way.
I'll say it right now. I'll look in the camera and I'll say it to you, Kevin Hart. I'm putting you on the free throw line because you know what? Under pressure, you'll crack.
Ooh.
Kevin Hart, do not foul him. Do not allow him to have any layups. When he's being silly, somebody take the ball from him, go the other way, and score. He's going to be MVP, so make sure he becomes MVP with 4 points instead of 10 points.
That was Jalen Rose yesterday talking a little trash, as was Golick, about the great Kevin Hart, who's here with us again, getting set to try and defend his 3-time MVP status at the Celebrity Game.
First of all, I want to say that Jalen Rose is shaped like a Dutch woman. Okay, I want to say that. Are we live? Did we get that?
We got that.
I want to say that. I don't know when Jalen Rose's body went and turned into a black woman. He's like a black woman from a family reunion. I hate Jalen's shape. That's right. I said it, Jalen. I'm tired of you. I'm tired of your awful built body. And I'm sick of your words. That was from me to you. Okay? You want to talk about me? You want to talk about what I've done and what I've built? I built a legacy. Okay? The celebrity game is the celebrity game because of what I've done. Year after year, I've performed. MVP. Nothing's going to change.
You know what's going to change, my friend, since I'm coaching against you? How about Monet Davis? How about the 13-year-old basketball phenom that I'm going to put directly on you to shut you down?
Well, I have no problem saying this on TV. I will hurt that little girl. Okay? Did you get that? Did you get that? You guys get that? You want to zoom in? You want to zoom in right now? You get a good zoom in on my face. I will hurt that little girl. Okay? That's right. That's how I feel.
Mike and Mike, Kevin Hart is here. Our Forward Thinking is brought to you by Mahindra USA, the world's #1 selling tractor. What are we looking forward to? Obviously, the Sprint NBA Celebrity All-Star Game tonight, 7 Eastern on ESPN and the Watch ESPN app. Now, in your life, you have a lot of things going on up to it, including the fact that you recently got engaged.
Yeah, I did. Guys, I decided to lock this chocolate up. That's right. That's right, guys. Man candy is off the table. Put it in the freezer. Ladies, you had your chance. You stop looking. It's done. Right? She's over here looking. I'm taking now. You had your chance last time I came to Mike and Mike. Too late. It's like at a casino when the dealers do that. It's done. I put it up. This chocolate's in the freezer. I decided to make my lady lucky. No, it's time, man. I got a good woman. I'm happy. I'm at a happy point in my life. She's the one. I'm going to get married. The good thing is the way that black people do it, we get engaged and I can let this ride for 10 years. So I don't really have to get married anytime soon.
So this is just a step.
Yeah, this is like a first step.
Yeah.
Every time she brings it up, I buy dogs. Every time she brings it up, I buy something to occupy our time. Next thing you want to start playing with it? Look at this new dog. Where it come from? And I was like, this dog keep peeing in the house. We got to train this dog.
I mean, so you've done. You're doing so much. What's next? I mean, where can you go?
What's next is a good question. Wedding Ringer, of course, is out now, which is doing very well. We were #1 comedy, I think, 4 weeks in a row, and now we're trying to get it 5th. Get Hard is coming out with Will Ferrell and myself. That comes out the end of March. I'm about to do a movie with The Rock called Central Intelligence. Can't wait for that. Shouts out to you, Rock. After that, I'm doing another movie that's called Intouchable. It's a remake of a French movie that did very well with me and Colin Firth. Ride Along 2 is coming out.
When's that coming out?
That comes out next January on Martin Luther King weekend. My tour, What Now? I'm about to announce like the biggest tour in comedy history. Like I told you guys, I'm going all over the U.S., every place outside the U.S. I'm literally not leaving a place unturned. Season 5, Real Husbands of Hollywood, about to shoot that. I mean, guys, I don't stop. I don't stop moving. I'm working, but I'm not working just to do it. I'm doing it because the projects keep getting bigger and better, and I love to show progression. And I think in my work that I've done to date, I've shown progression, and that's what I want my fan bases to see from me. I want them to see that I don't take this for granted. I take the craft serious. Not only with this stand-up comedy am I going to keep showing that I'm going to get better, but I want the acting roles to change and the movies to get better. And I think my co-stars are a representation of the product. So I'm happy about where I am in life. I'm blessed. More importantly, I'm happy at the feedback that I'm getting. So to everybody that supported the Kevin Hart train, I love you guys. Thank you. Please don't stop. Ignore the fact that I'm sitting on a box. This is about what looks right, and right now this looks right. You know, my confidence is.
I was going to say, you seem more confident.
Look at how good I am right now. Look at this. Look at how I can move, despite the fact that this microphone makes me feel like I can't move my neck. Everything else is good. I feel great.
One of my favorite things that I remember seeing was you were on the Tonight Show one time and you were sitting next to Shaquille O'Neal.
Oh my goodness!
And that was one of the great, if nothing else, just visual moments that I've ever seen.
Well, look, Shaq is the definition of too big. Okay, if there was ever a guy that we should put back, like Shaq is a guy that so I came out too big. It's stupid. Like Shaq and Yao Ming are that's just dumb big. Like, is that a point, yo? You know what really makes me mad about Shaq? Shaq doesn't wear sneakers. Have you noticed that? He's so big that he goes full comfort and he ignores where he is. Like Shaq wears moccasins. It doesn't matter where he is. Like, we were at dinner one night and he showed up with like a suit on and then he has slippers. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, why can't I do it? Why can't I do it? I'm Shaq. I do what I want. It's stupid. It doesn't look right. Like, that's not appropriate at the table. You put your feet out. He's like, I don't care. Nobody say nothing to me. I'm Shaq. Hey, at the end of the day, I talk makes sense. My words don't go together. That's how I talk like this all the time, and I'm kind of cross-eyed, but nobody says it. Nobody ever mentions it. Nobody ever mentions the fact that my eyes don't really match up sometimes.
Kevin Hart, before the one guy in our business, like comedians who can get away with saying anything and everything, the one guy in our business who's like that is Charles Barkley. How does Charles Barkley get to a place where he can say anything?
Terrible. Everybody terrible. Here's the thing about Charles, okay? Everybody's afraid to say this. I really learned to like understand Charles can't pronounce words for what they really are. Charles has a problem with his T's and H's and R's.
Right.
Okay? Charles doesn't belong on TV. Let me say it right now. Charles Barkley has a face for radio. You know what that means? You guys know what that means? Charles, I'm tired of your unattractive face on TV. Everybody's afraid to say it. Tell him, Chuck, beat it. I said it. I'm sick of it, Chuck. I'm sick of you, and I'm sick of these bad suits. Sometimes, Chuck, it's hard to deal with. It's hard to look at. Your stomach and your thighs sit up on the table too high. It's bad. Charles Barkley looks like he can lick his nipple in the middle of an interview at any time. I got you, Chuck. Blind attack, Chuck. I got you. Charles is a nipple licker.
All right. Yeah. We are going to run out of time. Ladies and gentlemen, the great Kevin Hart.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNradio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike